Welcome to Coffee and Cremation with Tracy Allen. Grab your cup of coffee or favorite beverage and join me as we discuss what you need to know about pre-planning your final arrangements. Good morning. Hey, let me share this with you. My guest today, she had such a powerful question that she shared. And so she said that she often asks herself, could I have said or done things differently with my sister to help ease her children's grief when she died? So she's going to share the answer to that in just a moment. So, my name is Tracy Allen. I am a pre need planning advisor, and my job is to help you to put a plan in place now while you're clearly thinking you're still alive, so that when you die, your family doesn't have to take care of those details while they're sad and grieving. So today's guest on coffee and cremation, we've got our cup this time. Excuse me. Today's guest is the beautiful, sensational Miss Terrie Barretto. Hello, Terrie. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Tracy.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. And I want you guys to know that Terrie is a beautiful, wise, wonderful, awesome person. And she is also a coworker. So she works in a couple different locations, but so glad that she has joined me for today's episode of Coffee and Cremation. So, Terrie, what's in your cup?
I have hot cocoa this morning, sugar-free hot cocoa.
Sugar free? Okay.
Yes.
And I've got ginger root and honey lemon tea.
Oh, that
So,
sounds
cheers.
delish. Cheers.
Yes, yes. Thank you. So, welcome to the show. Terrie,
Thank
tell
you.
us a little bit about who you are.
Well, let's see. I have, you mentioned that I am a colleague. I've actually worked in the funeral industry for 38 years, even though
Long
I'm
time.
39. Haha. But no, 38 years. And the last 28 years, 24 years of my career have been focused on the pre-arrangement side of business. So long dedicated. I love my profession. I
Mhm,
have a passion for it and helping people really with their needs.
mhm, mhm. And what made you want to get into that industry?
Well, it was actually a joke at my family dinner table one night.
Mhm,
So I had come across a manufacturer overseas who wanted me to distribute their furniture products here in the US. But I asked my family for different ideas that these manufacturers could make and ingest. My brother Bob had suggested, why don't you make caskets? And then the family started running with the joke. Caskets became urns. And then I started a line of cremation urns, which I ran a business for 14 years.
wow.
Yeah, yeah,
That's pretty interesting.
yeah,
And so then you decided to jump into actually helping people. Like,
yeah.
for me, the first time I heard of pre-planning was in 2005. I'd gone
Mhm.
to a job fair and I saw this table. It had all this stuff with caskets and cremation and funeral. And I was like, what is this? And the lady, she started speaking with me and she said, this is for people that want to plan before they die, so that when they die, their family doesn't have to take care of these things. And I was
Yeah,
like, oh, wow, that's pretty awesome. So I
sure.
worked it for a little bit. I wasn't ready to dive fully into it at that moment, but I thought it was pretty cool. And so I did that for a little bit. But what got you to say, okay, let me go ahead and start helping folks?
Well, having been exposed to the business for some time, I knew many individuals. I knew about the different aspects of the business, and I just had several pre-arrangement companies approach me to see if I wanted to join them in their efforts because they knew I was already integrated with the funeral homes across the country, and they asked me if I wanted to piggyback their product, and help spread the word and share the experience. So I selected a company at the time, and that's what started my venture with pre-arrangements.
Hmm. Well, awesome. So let me ask you this. You shared with me um, how you lost your sister and her husband and what that did with the children. So
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what happened with that. And before you even get
Sure.
started, I just want to say my condolences. I know it's been a while, but it
Thank
still
you.
always hurts when you think about people that you love being gone.
Honestly, it's been almost 8 years, and there's not a single day my brothers and I do not think about my sister or mention something about her.
Mhm.
So thank you. Thank you for your
Absolutely.
sentiment. So, you know, with the understanding that I've been involved in the business for 38 years, I even brought my father into the business, who I trained to sell prearrangements. I brought three brothers into the business. Two of them are still involved in the business and work for our company.
Yeah.
Um, However, imagine all of those years of knowledge and understanding about the value of pre-planning. It's never been my style uh, to make people uncomfortable in talking about pre-planning. It's never been my style to um, boldly confront family or friends, especially, you know, that you need to do this, right? And
Right.
get in their face about it. Not my style at all. My family has always known what I've done in the earn business. They all helped me with the inventory when it came in. They knew my transitions. They knew and understood the value of planning in advance, or at least I had hoped that they did. Well, my sister and her husband, while they understood it, they just chose not to move forward. Whether it was financial, they were raising four children, but they found every reason and excuse to not take care of things in advance. Okay.
Mhm.
So now you want me to share with you how,
Yeah,
yeah,
yes. Sometimes I'm just so stunned with, I'm sitting here thinking about the fact that it makes sense to
yeah,
most people, but yet they will not do anything.
right,
And so I'm sorry that they didn't listen. But
yeah,
yeah, so tell me what happened next.
yeah. So, I mean, life goes on, right?
Mhm.
Um, Many of us don't want to think about the day that we're gone, and sometimes that just catches us by surprise, right? So here we are. My sister was 58 years old and diagnosed, very surprisingly, with pancreatic cancer. Okay.
Mhm.
Where we thought it was a gallbladder issue. She's going to have gallbladder surgery, and they discover it's pancreatic cancer. So she fought her fight. I guess she was just about 57. She fought her fight for 22 months. And in that time, it's again, I'm not going to make her feel uncomfortable. I'm not going to let her know her days are numbered and you need to get your arrangements in place. Excuse me. S- So here we are, we're going through her whole transition, and in her final months, 9 months before her passing, my brother-in-law, her husband, Arnold, has a massive stroke. My sister at the time was 59 years old. Excuse me, Arnold was 60. And he has a massive stroke. He's in the hospital for a month. He's in one hospital. My sister is in another. And we lose him. He passes away. He never recovers. The kids are in complete and utter shock and despair.
Mhm. And how old were they at that time?
The youngest was 23, the oldest was 33. So
Mhm.
young adults,
Yeah.
but young with families just starting of their own, some of them. 23-year-olds still single, uncommitted. Um, but the other three were married and some were just starting to have children. Okay. So now, because my sister is in a hospital, the kids are responsible for taking care of Arnold's arrangements. And that was so difficult and challenging for them. And naturally, my brothers and I helped, but they were still at a complete loss because, it might sound sad or bad to say, But the thought would have been that if they were going to lose a parent, it would probably be the one with cancer before
Right.
their dad, right? It would be their mom before their dad. Not that that's a wish, but
Right.
that's just the thought, right?
Right.
Well, you know, when our time comes, it comes. We don't
Mhm.
often get a pre-warning, right? We're
Mm-mm.
not we're not often prepared. And so in this situation, it just caught everybody off guard.
Mhm.
Well, so they take care, we assist and take care of the arrangements. And now my sister is in her final days, and my nephew, he's the oldest of the kids. Nick says to me, Auntie, can we get arrangements in place for my mom? And I say, absolutely. And while he wasn't prepared to move forward right then when we were having the conversation, we were planning to take care of it in 1 week's time. But guess what? Within that week, my sister passed away. So the kids once again are very upset having to deal with the loss of their mom. They thought they had a little more time with her. And now, when all they want to do is grieve, now they have to make decisions on her final arrangements
While they were still grieving
while they're
dad.
still grieving.
Yeah.
And, as a professional in the industry, I could not have felt worse. I absolutely felt like I failed these kids because I couldn't help them or help their mom and their dad understand the true value of planning in advance. And, here I am 8 years later, still feeling like, oh my gosh, what could I have done differently to
Mhm.
help these kids get through this process? Because they're still grieving heavily today.
Yeah.
They're getting by, but there's not a day that goes by that none of us, you know, will not think about my sister. We
Right.
do every day,
Right.
you know.
So what do you say, how can people understand what their arrangements are?
So, just when you think you don't have a prearrangement, you actually do. Okay. Your prearrangement, even if you say, oh, well, my kids know what I want, or it's in my will. Well, guess what? A will doesn't get read for months after a death has occurred. And by that time, your arrangements have long been taken care of.
Mhm.
Even if you say, well, my kids know what I want. Okay, well, that's good. But that doesn't put the details in place.
Right.
And without the prearrangement in place, now family still has to figure out who to use, what decisions to be made, um, handle the expense,
Mhm.
because in our business, service has to be paid for in full
Immediately.
prior
Yeah.
to receipt of service,
Mhm.
right? So now they shoulder the expense, you know, and when they're grieving, they're just very subject to being what we call upsold. In other
Mhm.
words, made to feel like they need the best of everything when
Mhm.
making arrangements for their loved one, right?
Mhm.
So without a pre-arrangement in place, your plan is the plan of chaos
Mhm.
because that's what your family will be going through when they're trying to console the grief of family, whether it's their own kids or their siblings themselves. They're dealing with having to handle that grief
Mhm.
and then make these difficult decisions about arrangements after a loss has occurred. Okay.
Right. And
And
I like
that's
to
that's
share I like to share with folks that, I have a little saying that when there's a need, it opens the doors to greed. So what you're saying about the upselling at that time. Yeah.
I it is a business, you
Mhm.
know. Um, there are many individuals who can make these elaborate decisions and feel good about it, and that's wonderful. You absolutely should. But
Hmm.
there's so many of us who, while we have the sound mind and ability for
Hmm.
making decisions today in an unstressful situation,
Right.
wouldn't concede to or select the the excess that is presented during a time of grief.
Exactly.
You know,
And I know a lot of times in our industry, as pre-planners, people will always say, "Oh, you have such a difficult job," and it's like, no, I get to talk to you while you're alive, while you're clear-headed,
right,
and
right,
it just makes so much more sense. We can laugh and put things in place, and then when that time
absolutely,
comes, someone's going to help the family get through those tough times. So I'm grateful that we
absolutely.
do have pre-plans and grateful that you have been a part of my life and we're
Oh,
on the same team.
likewise.
Exactly. And so, Terry, you service what areas do you service?
Well, if I go south, I start in Arizona, and then in California, I cover from Orange County right on up through the Oregon border, and then I cover Oregon as well as Washington.
Okay. All right.
So,
And so for me, little old me, I'm down here in San Diego. But we're California team. We're part of the
right,
California team. So we're
exactly.
able to take care of folks all over California.
Sure.
So I'm gonna put your number up here. Let's see. Let me make sure that I have it right. Is it you got a 619 number, huh?
Correct. I used to live in San Diego.
There you go. So that's Terry's information. If you want to reach out to Terry and get some more information, there's her number right there, 619-261-8279. 8279. That's
Thank you.
Terry's. And for
Yes,
those of you that are here in San Diego or somewhere in California where we can kind of blend, but my information 619-719-1484, 1484. Okay. So
beautiful.
Terry, was there anything else you wanted to share with folks before we go?
No, just, I suppose, well, now that I say no, um, I would like folks to know that I am passionate about this, and whether, if you're interested in planning in advance, if you reach out to Tracy or myself, neither one of us nor anyone in our company is about hard pressure sales. Okay. It is not about hard pressure sales at all. This is a very personal decision that you are making. We're here to support you. And if you're working with somebody else and you're feeling pressured, know that that's not needed. Know that that's not necessary.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So thank you for that. And I agree 1000%.
yeah.
So thank you, my beautiful sister. I'm
Thank you for
glad you were
having me.
able to join me today. Excuse
Thank
me.
you so much for having me. Thank you.
And I know it was a tough conversation just now, but thank you. And you did great. I appreciate you sharing your story.
Thanks again.
So you're welcome. So for those of you that were tuned in live, feel free to leave your questions, comments. I'm not sure whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, but wherever you're watching, make sure that you get in touch if you have any questions, and we're more than happy to answer those questions for you. And if you are someone that has a story and you'd like to be able to share, well, coffee and cremation is about allowing you to have that comfort, right? Be at home, be cozy, get your cup of whatever it is that you enjoy. And let's just have this relaxing conversation. And like Terry said, this is not high pressure sales or anything. We just want you to be aware, start thinking if you haven't thought about it, start getting things done because, you know, we're not getting out of this alive, you guys. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close out now. And thank you all for tuning in and come back next Saturday. And if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay. Thanks, you guys. Bye, everybody.
Bye.